On News Live at 6, find out what SPD has to say about the recent false shooting and bomb threats at Maxwell.
Plus, changes in coverage are coming to student health insurance, what you need to know.
And what Lincoln Middle School officials are saying after a teacher was attacked by a parent last Friday. News Live at 6 starts right now.
This is CitrusTV News Live at 6, your campus news leader.
Student fear on campus is on the rise tonight following a series of false active shooter and bomb threats. Good evening. I'm John Perik.
And I'm Olivia Maniscalco. We begin tonight with our Michael Lamort, who has more on what the Syracuse police are calling swatting pranks.
Bennett Shine is not your typical first-year SU student. A freshman political science major at Maxwell, Shine strives to stay positive, posting daily messages for the SU Snapchat community to see.
I felt like, yes, college can be a rough place, but I think that at the end of the day, there are a lot of people who need a reason for hope around here. But
with DPS announcing in an email 2 false reports of an active shooter and 1 false bomb threat at Maxwell, SU students have had a hard time staying positive. The Syracuse Police Department has been working with DPS to investigate these reports, saying they may be swatting pranks.
We know that these swatting false calls are taking place. You still have to prepare for the worst. So people like to do it because they realize that they can get emergency services there.
Police enforcement will respond to each call seriously, but with swatting pranks on the rise, it's taking away from the resources.
If a call like that gets put in, you're going to see officers rush to that scene and make sure it's secure. But again, that's really the dangers of doing this swatting, and if people think it's funny or you're messing around with someone, again, it's a serious charge to do that, but then also people can get hurt. Not only officers responding to the scene, but people inside their house or business if that type of call gets put over there. So it's really important to know this isn't a joke when you decide to do this. There's a lot of lives that you're putting at risk.
And DPS is saying that these false reports inside of Maxwell are still under investigation, which is why they declined to comment, but they are ensuring SU students and faculty that they're taking this situation seriously.
The university is reminding students if there is a real emergency on campus, you'll hear this. And will also be notified by a phone call, text, and email. But no matter what, you can still count on Bennett Shine to spread a positive message, especially in a time like this.
no matter what happens, I'm going to keep being there. I'm going to keep trying to make people feel better.
In Syracuse, Mike Lamort, Citrus TV News.
Mike Lamort, thank you for your reporting tonight. This week is Black History Month's week of wellness, and today the university is holding a basketball event. The Black History Month Committee and the Barnes Center is hosting an event called Basketball Classic, focusing on this year's theme of, quote, existing outside the lines, the colors of resistance, end quote. The event aims for students to engage in a competitive game while building relationships across campus.
Staying on campus, SU's graduate program Bio Inspired is adding a new research subgroup that studies post-humanities. The program examines the relationship between science, art, and humanities, with several events highlighting the program being planned for this spring. These programs include art galleries, research presentations, and lectures. More information about how to get involved in the subgroup can be found on bioinspired.syr.edu.
And there are changes coming to medication coverage in the student health insurance plan.
Yep, here to break down those changes is Citrus TV's Matt Lesnick. Matt, good evening.
Good evening, John and Olivia. Changes are coming regarding medication coverage in the student insurance plan. There already were changes retroactive to January 1st, and if you want to check those out, you can go to Aetna Insurance's official website. But there are also changes coming April 1st, and those are the ones I'm going to be focusing on. To start off, this is an Aetna insurance card. As you can see in the bottom right here, the students have an advanced control plan -Aetna, which is different than the standard advanced control plan. Before I get into some of the changes, here are a few terms that need to be defined. A formulary means it is just covered by the plan, while non-formulary means that it is not covered or prior authorization is needed. Now, a preferred means that a specific brand of drug is covered by the plan, while non-preferred means that that a name brand drug is not covered or more expensive, which usually means that the name brand drug, that a generic version of the name brand drug is available. But let's get into some of these changes. In total, there are 22 changes, 12 to name brands and 10 to generics, while And one of the biggest ones is Humira, a medication that treats a lot of autoimmune disorders. And of all the drugs listed here, that means they are non-formulary, which means they are not covered. Now, for each of the listed conditions, now there are alternatives. For each of these listed conditions here, there is alternatives with the two shown on screen being the biggest two. Additionally, for each of the following medications, there are quantity limits being placed on them, which means you can only order a certain amount in a certain period of time. An important note for all of these medications is that they are all weight loss medications. Now, there are more changes, and if you want to check those out and take a look at the January changes as well, you can go to Aetna.com. That's AETNA.com. John and Olivia, back to you.
Matt, thank you. New details now tonight about the Lincoln Middle School teacher who was beaten up by a parent last Friday. Officials spoke in a press conference today and identified the suspect as Lenzina Sutton. According to school officials, Sutton's daughter had a disciplinary incident on Thursday in which she alluded to her mom, quote, taking care of this.
The DA says the next day the mother was able to get past school security and then proceed to repeatedly hit a faculty member in front of students. The teacher, who wishes to remain anonymous, is out of the hospital but suffered multiple nasal fractures and even a concussion. Superintendent Anthony Davis had this to say about the incident.
We want to just make sure that everybody understands that this should never happen. And when people are dedicating their lives to educating our students, they shouldn't have to worry about this.
Sutton is charged with assault of the 3rd degree and burglary of the 2nd degree. She has a court date set for Thursday.
And 12-year-old Camarion Patterson from Syracuse has been missing for 5 days. His father says he last saw him at their home on Rich Street after picking him up from school. But his father also says Camarion then returned back to school and hasn't been seen since. Patterson is just over 5 feet tall and weighs around 140 pounds. He was last seen in a black and blue shirt and blue khakis. If you have any details on where Camarion might be, SPD is asking that you contact them.
The president of SUNY Oswego has responded to the Free Palestine slogans that were graffitied around campus. One of the slogans said, "Free Gaza from the river to the sea," and "Human rights is not hate speech. Free Gaza." In a letter sent to the campus community, President Peter Wosu said, quote, "Hate speech or any speech that instills fear has no place at SUNY Oswego." SUNY Oswego has had both pro-Palestinian and pro-Israel protests on campus in recent months.
Mayor Walsh's administration tonight working to find a solution to low pay wages city workers are experiencing. City worker unions are convinced tonight the mayor, or they have rather convinced the mayor to conduct a pay study. But disagreements over how and when the study would be done still remain. And according to a union official, the administration isn't allowing the union to have a say in how the study will be conducted. The Syracuse Common Council has scheduled a meeting tomorrow to discuss both the union compensation study and cost of living increases for non-union workers.
As Onondaga County looks to entice new multifamily housing developments with tax breaks, one town is pushing back. The Cicero Town Board is considering a new zoning law that would require new developments with more than 4 units to obtain a special use permit. This could become an additional hurdle to develop in the Syracuse area despite the high demand for housing.
Swans of Manlius are here to stay, but the Department of Environmental Conservation says they are not allowed to reproduce. This comes after one of the swans was killed by a teenager last year. The permit issued by the DEC specifies that by August 31st, the village has to either sterilize the 4 swans or only keep 2 of the same sex. The state is working to limit the number of mute swans, which are an invasive species. Manlius is the only village permitted to have these birds.
Destiny USA and the American Red Cross are joining forces to hold a crucial blood drive this Saturday. The Red Cross is in urgent need for donations as there is a severe blood shortage. The drive will take place from 8 a.m. to noon on the 2nd level, right next to Johnny Rockets. Donors of all blood types are encouraged to donate.
Well, Olivia, just walking around campus today, nice to see some blue skies.
Definitely.
Sure, you got the sun, but it felt like the temperatures were rising, and it looked like you got the snow on the ground. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
You got the snow. It looked like the snow was melting, didn't it?
It looked like it was because the sun was out, obviously. I don't think much of the snow melted, though, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, Caitlin Campbell, please tell me that we're not going to have the snow in the forecast, because I can't stand, Caitlin, running when my hand's frozen. You know, it's actually getting on my nerve. It's been freezing outside. It's Syracuse winters, right? Like, what else is there to expect in Syracuse than cold weather and snow?
I have probably rain. With our luck, we'll probably get some monsoons coming our way, because especially as I'm pretty sure the temperatures will be rising in the next coming weeks. I mean, Punxsutawney Phil, he saw spring earlier.
I don't think that applies to Syracuse, though.
Yeah,
I feel like we've got an exception here.
It seems like it. It seems like nothing applies to Syracuse that the groundhog sees, unless, of course, he sees 6 more weeks of winter.
Caitlin Campbell, are we going to have 6 more weeks of winter, or are those warm temperatures coming soon?
John, I wish we could say the warm temperatures were coming soon, but unfortunately that bitter February weather is here to stick around. I mean, hopefully the sun provided some relief, but again, that bitter weather is here to stay. Currently it is 34 degrees and sunny, but it feels like 30 degrees. Now going into tonight, we'll see some of those clouds and we'll see 26 degrees drop. I'll have your full 5-day forecast coming up later in the show.
Caitlin, thank you. Now, car theft in Onondaga County is on the rise. The county saw its highest rate of car thefts last year, the number having nearly doubled since 2022. And within the first 5 weeks of this year, car thefts are up by 71%. According to Syracuse Police, 113 cars have been stolen so far. Kias and Hyundais are the most stolen cars in Onondaga County, and of course, across the nation. This is due to a security flaw where thieves can unlock them using nothing but a USB cord and a screwdriver.
In Marcellus, controversy is brewing over a local longtime grocery store which plans to sell shop over to Stewart's. The Nojam brothers grocery store struck a deal last year to sell the shop, but the village has complaints about Stewart's plan to replace the store with a smaller shop and add gas pumps. The village mayor claims that the community doesn't support the pumps, saying it would ruin the community, or rather the character of the village. The village board may pause Stewart's application to join the village. And coming up on News Live at 6, new charges tonight following the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl parade. What officers have to say next.
And the U.S. is blocking a popular UN resolution. Stay with us.
Welcome to an excellent episode of Live from Studio B.
You're watching Citrus TV News Live at 6 with John Perik, Olivia Maniscalco, and Caitlin Campbell. Now, your campus news leader continues.
Welcome back to News Live at 6. The U.S. has vetoed a UN resolution that called for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The U.S. ambassador to the UN stated that the Algerian resolution would negatively affect ongoing negotiations in the region.
The move comes after a U.S. proposal for a temporary ceasefire in the conflict, as the Biden administration has become increasingly critical of Israel's conduct in Gaza. The U.S. warned Israel against launching an offensive of Rafah in southern Gaza.
Dominic Miller and Lyndall Mays have been charged with second-degree murder in the Kansas City shooting that took one life and injured 22 more after the Chiefs Super Bowl parade. These come after previous gun-related and resisting arrest charges. Both adults have been hospitalized since the shooting.
Police say a dispute amongst several people led to the shooting. The 22 people injured were aged between 8 and 47. More than half were under 16. Lisa Lopez Galvin, a mother of two, lost her life.
YouTuber Ruby Frankie has been sentenced to 4 consecutive prison terms for child abuse against her kids. Frankie could be behind bars for anywhere from 4 to 60 years. Her business partner, Jody Hildebrand, faces these same charges. Frankie was initially charged with child abuse after one of her children escaped from Hildebrand's house and begged a neighbor for help.
Frankie was famous for giving parenting advice on her 8 Passengers YouTube channel. Frankie admitted to various instances of abuse, such as regularly keeping her 12-year-old son bound and forcing her 9-year-old daughter to do manual labor outside with no water or shoes.
A 5,000-pound satellite is expected to fall to Earth tomorrow. The European Space Agency satellite will likely largely burn up in Earth's atmosphere. The agency's space debris office says the re-entry is, quote, natural and there is no way to stop it.
And it's impossible to know exactly when and where it's going to land. But do not worry, though. The chances of a person being injured by space debris is, get this, 1 in 100 billion. I actually had to make sure that was correct when I was reading it earlier. 1 in 100 billion, so don't worry. And a pesticide linked to infertility in animals.
Coming up on News Live at 6, I'll have your full 5-day forecast. You don't want to miss it.
Women are bad with money.
That's what the world's been saying for centuries. But now,
we've got something to say.
Save it. Save the old-fashioned advice, the empty excuses. It's all worthless, unlike us.
To our fellow females, it is time to save ourselves by saving our money.
Contributing to our futures, investing in our independence.
Until we're no longer 80%
more likely than men to live in poverty in retirement.
So again, we say to that,
Save it. The falsehoods, the feelings of fault. Then the funds.
learn how to save for your retirement at wesaysaveit.org.
Meet Norm. He lives with anxiety, but with the help of this latest innovation from Be Normal, he can be normal, just like everyone else. With the swipe of a finger, you can project happiness, confidence, machismo. Why settle for being real when you can be normal? The Normal Maker, new from Be Normal. This item doesn't really work because there's no such thing as normal. We're all different. What we like, how our brains work. In fact, 1 in 5 of us live with mental illness. Don't filter who you are. Start by talking to someone you trust. And remember, there is no normal.
From the CitrusTV Weather Center, this is SU's most accurate weather forecast.
Welcome back to News Live at 6. Let's take a look at your 5-day forecast. Now, I hope you enjoyed the sun, and it's here to stay until tomorrow, where we're going to see those mid-40s continue up until Saturday. Now, Saturday, we will see it drop, but at least we'll have had some sun throughout the week, and I mean, we will get some rain here on Thursday and Friday. So it is being pretty consistent throughout the week, except you might see some snow on Friday here as well. Now, with the snow and with the rain, don't forget your umbrella, and here are some activities that you can do while indoors. There's a bird library study session. I know that midterms are coming up. You can watch a good movie. There are plenty of new movies on Netflix. You can bake a sweet treat, which I know has been my personal favorite. My friends and I had baked a bunch of cookies this past weekend while we were indoors from all the cold. And now you can also spend the night in with friends, which is again another option. You can watch movies, you can hang out, catch up and gossip while the snow is pouring. And you just don't want to go out unless you do, and then I would grab an umbrella and grab a jacket. But that's all I have for right now. Guys, back to you.
Catch up and gossip. I love it, Caitlin. Pesticide linked to infertility in animals has been found in oat-based products in the U.S. A study conducted by the Environmental Working Group found the pesticide chlormiquat in 92% of oat-based foods tested, including cereals such as Quaker Oats and Cheerios. I like my Cheerios.
Yeah, me too.
Gosh.
This is not good news. The chemical has shown to cause reproductive system damage and disrupt fetal growth in animals. The study raises concerns about whether it could harm people as well.
Capital One Financial is planning on buying Discover Financial Services for more than $35 billion. The deal will bring together two of the nation's biggest lenders and credit card issuers in the world together.
Discover shareholders will receive Capital One shares valued at nearly $140, a premium to the Discover shares on Friday. Capital One shareholders will own roughly 60% of the shared company once the deal closes.
Hey, John and Olivia, we're live from Raleigh, North Carolina, where Syracuse men's basketball taking on NC State in about 45 minutes. That and more in sports after the break.
Jason, let's go see your room.
What do you think? We kept it a little spare, so you can decorate it how you like.
Dinner. Go.
Excellent. Soccer is fun. Yeah, I saw you guys out there.
They took over my bedroom. Come on, come on. Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. Dad! You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
And now, your CitrusTV Sports Report.
Syracuse men's basketball is in Raleigh to take on NC State tonight. Welcome into Sports Live from PNC Arena. I'm Liam Griffin. Now, I'll tell you more about Adrian Autry and Company's clash with Kevin Keats Wolfpack in just a little bit. Let's start by heading over to the turf, where then number 5 Syracuse men's lacrosse lost a thriller to number 4 Maryland 13-12 in overtime. I don't need to tell you about how the game ended with that controversial call. Head coach Gary Gate is taking a different look at things. It's still a very young team filled with sophomores despite the additions of grad transfers Christian Muley, Jake Stevens, Sam English. Still a very young team ridden with sophomores like Spallina, Hiltz, among others. And head coach Gary Gate isn't talking about the controversial call at the end of things. He's talking about something his team gained after the game.
I think what Nate got and some other players out there was some valuable experience against a top 4 team. And I think that's the positive to really take out of that. Guys like Nate and Vinny Trujillo really got some experience about some of the best players in the country. So.
Well, experience is really going to help this team go a long way later on. Schedule not getting any easier. Syracuse taking on Utah tomorrow in the Dome at noon. Very interesting. You don't really see a noon face-off on a Wednesday afternoon, but that's exactly what Gary Gate and company have in store. I have some tougher teams later down the line like Duke, Virginia, North Carolina, and Notre Dame in the ACC to name a few. But Syracuse and the Utes will square off at noon tomorrow. Now transitioning to basketball, but starting with Felicia Leggett Jack's squad, the Orange coming off a win over Virginia on Sunday in which Deasia Fair and Georgia Woolley combined for 59 points. The two of them will look to continue their hot streak going against the Duke team that, well, SU is 0-3 against in its last 3 tries. This time coming to the Dome, though, are the Blue Devils to face the 17th ranked Orange. Tip in that one on Thursday is scheduled for 7. Make sure you follow our Andrew Della Piana on X at Deli_5 for updates throughout that contest. Now let's get to the main attraction. Syracuse men's basketball taking on NC State tonight, coming off a game in which, well, the rebounding wasn't pretty, and to be honest, it hasn't been pretty for quite a while. The Orange have a rebounding margin of -65 over their last 4 contests, including a -21 margin in the loss to Georgia Tech on Saturday. That's the second worst of the season, the worst being a 36-point loss to North Carolina back on January 13th. But the Orange only lost to the Yellow Jackets by 5, and head coach Adrian Autry was quick to blame the struggles on the boards for the loss.
Talked about that. They're a very good rebounding team. Their rebounding, was a difference. The second chance opportunities that they got, whether it was a drive or foul, especially late in the game.
Well, Syracuse has the recipe to success to beating NC State already. The Orange took down the Wolfpack 77-65 back on January 27th. It'll be very interesting to see how the rebounding battle shapes out tonight, with Wolfpack big man DJ Burns being one of the most formidable big men in the ACC. Malik Brown went into foul trouble in SU's last game against Georgia Tech. Tip in that one coming up at 7. Follow Philip Galati for updates throughout the contest. That's it for sports. John and Olivia, back to you in studio.
Liam, thank you. I'm looking forward to watching the game. Coming up after the break, though, your wake-up weather. Stay tuned.
I see you mobbing over her. Let's go. Let's mob. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, we mobbing. Come on, girl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Hey, let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl.
Welcome back to News Live at 6. Let's take one last look at your wake-up weather. Tomorrow when you wake up, it's going to be 31 degrees and sunny, and we'll actually see a UV of 1. So now take in the sun on your walk to class. Maybe go outside and go for a little walk, or do your homework outside and take advantage of the sun. Now for my photo of the day, I have to show my view over the weekend of this sunset. It's just so beautiful and so amazing. I love looking at the sunset each night, but that's all I have for tonight. Guys, back to you.
Thanks, Caitlin. Gosh, 30 degrees here in Syracuse feels like 70. All right, well, an unknown group of thieves pulled off what is being called an impossible crime in Alabama. They stole a 200-foot radio tower. Yeah, you heard that right. And as of now, they've gotten away with it.
Wow, this is crazy. The robbery knocked a local AM station off the air. Some in the area think a concentration of construction near the tower may have made it easier for the thieves to pull it off. But how does that happen? A 200-foot?
I don't know.
Crazy.
Crazy story there. Well, that's all the time we have for you today here on Citrus TV News.
Don't forget, you can follow us on X and Instagram at CitrusTV News. I'm Olivia Maniscalco.
And I'm John Perik. Take care, Syracuse.